Well, hello there, motherfuckers, and welcome to your Extreme Rules 2018 review. Now, I didn't want to let my subs down. I didn't want to watch any of my viewers down, by not reviewing this show, but I gotta tell you, I toyed with the idea. I definitely did. It's like, alright, so, let's be honest here. I watched the whole show. My whole attention wasn't focused right here on this show. I was doing other things, and I fast forward through the entrances, and any little trick I could do to watch the show, but still stay productive at the same time. So I was doing some personal stuff on the side there, but still watching everything when it called for it. So I was still watching things out of the corner of my eye. But, this show right here, you want to talk about missed opportunities and everything. So, they refused to take the belt off of Brock Lesnar. The most probably productive thing that happened on this show was Kurt Angle making the announcement about, Lesnar showing up to Raw. He'd strip him of the title. And, people always talk about the 30-day rule and all that. It's a fake rule and everything. It's a rule that's made up for the show. But if they were ever going to act on that, they should not. What is the point of having Lesnar there? And then there's, Vince McMahon, who I heard. He's telling the announcers, don't talk about Lesnar last week on Raw. He's the champion. So your ratings are as low as shit. They're not getting any higher, even with Lesnar there. Lesnar's been there since 2012, and they haven't pulled in good ratings. Just because you get, a few 100,000 more viewers, is that really a big difference? They haven't gotten anywhere close to where they used to be, even during the early years of the Ruthless Aggression era when Lesnar was first there. So what should that tell them? Doesn't matter whether Lesnar's the champion or not. He's not there, and they should have worked out a better deal. Lesnar, if you're going to be such, so hard to deal with, then don't even let him be the champ. Don't even let him be a part of the roster. I'm a massive Lesnar fan. As I've told everybody, when he has a match, he's a great talent. I even said that they should get rid of Paul Heyman and just let Lesnar talk on the mic himself. He's perfectly fine on the mic, especially compared to the guys. I remember back then, maybe Lesnar looked a little weak in comparison to other guys on the roster at that time, but that's when the roster was a lot stronger. You compare him to guys like Finn Balor and such on the mic, and he's gold. When you stack him up against the others. So, that was probably the biggest highlight of this show, an announcement that lasted, 60 seconds, really, at the very most. So let's talk about these matches. The first match sees a title change. The B team defeats Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt. And I will say this, at least they're staying consistent with the B team. They're giving them a bunch of wins. But why are they so consistent with the team called the B team? It's funny how it's their gimmick that they're surprised that they're winning, and that this is supposed to be like an inspirational thing, and they talk to Reigns backstage. You just can believe in yourself and have confidence, and you're going to win. Why do they seem like they're staying consistent here, but they can't do that with any other character or star on the roster? They could only do that with the B team. You see what I'm saying? It's like everyone else, you win one, you lose one, but the B team, they get a solid, they have momentum. Why just them? And that's not a knock towards them. These are two talented guys, but I can't help but feel that there's even more talented people on the roster that deserve the same type of treatment. They weren't even this consistent with Bray Wyatt, even during his most popular years. Even when he was the WWE champion, he didn't even get treated as well. So his less over brother, Bo Dallas, gets more consistent booking. And, you know, this felt very uneventful. You know, I don't know what to tell you, like, what I was expecting from this match. You know, I didn't really even care, but it just felt like the way how they lost the titles, you know, you have so much of an opportunity here to do so many great segments with Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt as a tag team, and they have failed every step of the way. I mean, what was the latest thing that you heard? Bray Wyatt was standing, you know, toe-to-toe with, what the hell was the kid that Braun Strowman picked as his tag partner at WrestleMania? You know, he's facing off against this kid backstage. It was like a total joke. I mean, that's what Bray Wyatt is doing. You know, that's you know, this guy was feuding with John Cena. He was the WWE champ just a mere what was it, 2 years ago, if even? No, just a year ago, right? It was 2017. He was the champion at WrestleMania, and this is what he's been reduced to, the opening match, you know, losing to a team. And I understand that they've been building him up here for several months, but, you know, this is a team that has a big history of losing all the time, and this is the first, you know, major team that they beat, and it's Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt. Without a doubt, probably the most well-developed characters. These, fuck creative, these guys got themselves over. This is a TNA gimmick that Matt Hardy worked on with Jeremy Borash. Most of this stuff is from Matt Hardy's mind, and that's Bray Wyatt's promo skills that got them over. So, you know, you have two guys here that are probably some of the most talented people on the roster, and there's no respect here. Just jobbing them out that way because it's the flavor of the month tag team. They're going to get tired of them eventually, drop the belts, and it will go in an endless cycle. No one is really going to get over. Just when you think somebody gets... You guys know the song and dance by now. Like I said, don't expect big things from anybody or any show. They're always going to disappoint you in the end. It's going to be the same thing. They're going to, you know, go with this for a little bit. Watch, on Raw, they're probably going to lose a rematch to Matt and Bray or something like that. Finn Balor and Baron Corbin having a plain match, and, you know, Balor beats, you know, Corbin. I think he rolled him up or something. You know, what is the thing, like, corporate Kane, you know, Balor, like, okay, so he's the constable, so he has to be uncomfortable in dressing, you know, he has to wrestle in slacks. Like, he can't wrestle in normal attire. He has to dress with the slacks and the button-up shirt. It's like ridiculous, you know. He has to like wear the gimmick, you know, is it even a gimmick, into the match. He can't just dress like that for the backstage segments. Anyway, I don't know. It's like, and they're still harping on the thing. They're trying to still embarrass him on commentary, with the you know, with the Money in the Bank failure, cash in. You know, there's nothing to speak of here. You know, they talk about how, you know, Balor wants to get his way back to the top, and they've been talking about this same thing for 2 years. They just don't want to give him the title again. They even realize it was a big mistake. The guy is not as over as they thought he was. And, I mean, he was over when he first got in with the Smarks, but now even the Smarks don't even care. You know, they were going to do something interesting, you know, with his character. You know, with the Balor Club is for everybody, but they failed to pull the trigger on that. So, you know, now he's, you know, Balor is just a plain, smiling goofball. Hey! This is all he's got to him. You know, one week it looks like they're going to push the guy to the moon. The next week he's jobbing out. You know, it's just, the guy has no promo skills. I'll give him this, you know, he don't look like a wrestler, but the guy is, you know, physically fit. At least he don't look like a Kevin Owens. But, you know, there's nowhere to go with this guy at this point. You know, if they're not going to pull the trigger on the Balor Club is for everyone gimmick, you know, and they're not going to make him the first really seriously big top gay superstar, then forget about it already. There's nothing really left to do with Balor. You have nothing for him. He's just a plain guy. That would have been a great way to get the guy over, you know, with that segment of the audience. They could have drew in a lot of attention, a lot of media exposure, but they failed to do that. Carmella defeated Asuka. A nice, short, sweet match with some comedy from Ellsworth. I enjoyed this, but, you know, I can't help but feel that now I'm actually starting to feel bad for Asuka. They come in with all this fanfare. They don't do her justice. They instead of making her look dominant, they gave her this even Stevens match with Emma. They have her win the Royal Rumble, first ever women's Royal Rumble. She loses to Charlotte. You know what I mean? They bring her in with all the fanfare in the world, and you know there's nothing to show for all that fanfare. You know, and here she is, you know, losing again twice in a row, and they're building up Carmella, and I like, you know, the way how Ellsworth managed to get out of the cage, and he was upside down. And the funny thing is, I talked about during the Roman Reigns Lashley brawl on Raw, I said, why is it always wrestlers and referees? Well, security guards came out during this match, as I said, where are the security guards? So, like I said, a lot of times the girls look tougher than the guys when they do these pull-apart brawls. Like I said, even Bayley and Sasha were doing a better job than Reigns and Lashley. And that was, you know, even with other, you know, wrestlers involved, even a lot of other male wrestlers with these pull-apart brawls and such. Well, this was another example of it. Asuka was kicking these guys' asses, kicking them in the gut, throwing them all over the place. She looked tough. And I think, you know, now that all the fanfare is removed and, you know, Asuka's a bit more, like, vulnerable looking from her NXT days, I actually like her more now. I see a big opportunity to make her vicious and everything. You know, and she could be a big star, but, you know, once again, going about it in the wrong way. I mean, they can't even follow up on their own fanfare. They gave her vignettes coming in, all the build-up, and, you know, she's just been losing every single pay-per-view. It's like, how is anybody, without any momentum? She wins a few tag matches on Raw, but she failed to win every single big match they put her in. You're like, you can't do that. You either pull the trigger on the wrestler, or you just get him off the roster. I mean, you know, she's just basically a glorified jobber at that point. But, I mean, it was I enjoyed the match. It was entertaining for what it was because of Ellsworth's antics. And this is just an example here. Ellsworth was the most over thing in this match. And, well, Asuka, I enjoyed her beating up the security guards. I don't understand why they don't do this for pull-apart brawls and they don't do this for the backstage brawls. Instead of referees doing the in-ring routine where it looks ridiculous, where they're acting like they're in a match, oh, break it up. You know, it makes more sense to have security guards, not referees acting as security guards and wrestlers being good Samaritans to come break up a fight. You know, that's okay for, so, you know, if the security guards are having a tough time and the locker room has to empty out, and they're going to have, like, a big brawl to end the show like they did back in the day. And you remember, like, the Survivor Series 2001 build-up. You know, a lot of people label that the best ending in SmackDown history. Then it makes sense. But if you're going to go ahead and, you know, you're going to just do the same thing, they should just do the security guard stuff. Asuka looked really good here doing that. But aside from that, you know, she comes out looking like a loser every time. But it just shows that, you know, antics and stuff, it looked better than, say, the Iron Man match in the main event. I found that to be more entertaining, but we'll get to that in a little bit. We'll be talking about that. Murphy defeated Jeff Hardy. Now, I've heard that Jeff Hardy can't perform the Swanton at house shows because he's injured. But then they say that he's going to be booked on SmackDown in the rematch. I guess that's why he lost right here. You know, Murphy hit him with the low blow, you know, before the bell. Then he hit the Shinyaska. I don't even know if I'm still pronouncing that the right way. Probably not. I'll probably get corrected in the comments, but you know, I can't really say anything. I guess they had to get the belt off of him at the end, though. Randy Orton comes stomps him in the groin, so they're starting another feud. So I assume that Hardy is not injured then. So if there's, you know what I'm saying, it wouldn't make any sense to have him start a new feud. So why did they do this then? I mean, I gotta see SmackDown to see if he appears on there or not before I make my final judgment call on this match. But, you know, it was weird. And just like Hardy stomping him in the groin and just walking away, like usually it's an RKO. It's just a little bit weird. And he doesn't even get on the mic to say anything to Hardy. They're gonna save it. You know, like, have him get on the mic and say something. The pay-per-view is supposed to be eventful. You know, I guess it's not a pay-per-view anymore, but it's supposed to be a major show that we've been building up to for weeks. Give us a little something. We haven't seen Orton in months. Maybe he's got something to say. Well, apparently not. He just wants to stomp on groins. So, you know, the verdict is still out on if this match was purposeful or not. You know, they wanted to just get through this, or they were short on time or something. But for a U.S. title match, I don't really know on this one. Kevin Owens defeated Braun Strowman because Strowman threw him off the top of the cage in a dangerous stunt where he crashed through the table. And the thing is, you know, you'd say, well, how come you don't criticize the dangerous, you know, thing that Mick Foley did in Hell in the Cell by agreeing to do that? Well, because that was Hell in the Cell against The Undertaker. And all dangerous stunts back during, like, you know, Ruthless Aggression era and such were done with purpose. Nobody did a major stunt. There were very few and far between these big dangerous stunts. And when they did, it was usually after a giant feud, massive build-up, weeks and weeks of television. And here, this is just a lame, stupid feud. Braun Strowman is wasting time because Lesnar's not showing up. He can't cash in the briefcase. It's ridiculous that a guy like Strowman would have to be an opportunist anyway with the briefcase. Like I said, it makes no sense. It would have been such a better idea to give it to The Miz, who is an opportunist and who would be sneaky, and he would try to cash in a briefcase on somebody who is unsuspecting. But they give it to Strowman, who isn't a guy who exactly needs a lot of help sneaking up on anybody. So what they go ahead and do in this match is have this big spot where, you know, Owens could be seriously injured. They're taking a big risk. There's no guarantees. Even if, you know, Owens knows how to fall, you know, when he's done this type of stuff before, you know, when he did it and he just did a big spot at Money in the Bank on the last pay-per-view. And here they are doing it again. This guy's like, you know, first of all, he's not in shape. You know, so, I mean, I don't know if that would make him any less injury prone or whatever. I'm not going to get all, you know, scientific and biological about it here and be a physical therapist. But, you know, this guy's been through a lot the past few months. They also, you know, throw him off the stage in a porta potty and all this business. It's like he's getting thrown off and stuff, and none of it's memorable. No one's watching it, and they're doing these big stunts, and I don't know if they think if they do these things that it's going to raise the ratings or what, but it's getting stupid already. They're putting the guy's life on the line for things that no one is even going to remember the very next day. Seriously, you saw this spot. Anybody watching this video, do you even remember this? You probably do because I'm talking about it right now, but did you really, like, think about that the next day? Like, man, that was some spot. Because I'll be honest, I feel horrible saying about it because the guy put his body on the line, but, like, you know, before I sat down to even think of, to get to this match, it was the last thing on my mind. Like you saw, I rattled a few things off at the top of the review, you know, just because I couldn't wait to talk about it. But did I mention this? No, because I honestly wasn't even thinking about it. And like I said, I was trying to get through this pay-per-view as fast as possible, and that's when you know, like, why am I even watching this show then? I mean, I said it's for the purpose of the review, it's for the purpose of my channel, it's for the purpose of entertaining my fans. But I'm watching this, and I just can't wait for it to be over. I mean, you know what you know, I feel like horrible about it because, like, you know, Owens is doing his best here to entertain and all that, you know, but I mean, man, it's like this spot the agents should just tell them, just don't do these spots. They can't get through a cage match. And it's getting to the point where I'm feeling sympathetic towards the heel. So right off the bat, you already know it's bad booking. I'm feeling bad because every single week, Owens is getting the shit kicked out of him by Braun Strowman. You know, and it's no fun. It's like a defenseless fat man getting pounded mercilessly by Braun Strowman. You know, and Strowman has no purpose of even doing this. There was nothing that Owens even did to Strowman to, you know, even incite these acts against them. So it just makes Strowman in an age of be a star look like a giant bully. I've never felt like this before in a storyline, even from the be a star age, even since the PG era, where I've actually felt sorry for a heel and I felt sympathetic. Well, oh, you might say, well, Brad, well, you're feeling sympathetic towards somebody, you're having feelings, but that's because it's so horribly booked. That's the reason why it's evoking emotion, not because it's so well written that it's evoking emotions. It's evoking emotions because it's so horribly booked. I shouldn't be feeling sympathetic towards the heel. I should hate Owens. If Owens did something to Strowman, then I would say okay, well, I could see why they're booking it this way, because, you know, Strowman has a right to exact revenge on Owens for being a jerk to him, for, you know, trying to do sneaky things or whatever, screw him over in matches. But, you know, here the guy is taking this big fucking fall, and we're gonna forget about it in a week, in a few days, if you haven't already forgotten about it already. You had the Bludgeon Brothers defeating Daniel Bryan and Kane. You know, Team Hell No here. And I have to ask, what was the point of this? First of all, earlier in the night, they have Kane get attacked backstage by the Bludgeon Brothers. So Bryan starts off the match. He's by himself. It's 2-on-1. So, you know, right off they start, okay, so, you know, maybe they just want to add a little element there, so, you know. But that's not the case. Kane comes in at the end, and the Bludgeon Brothers just win anyway. They pin Bryan, and, you know, what was the point of all that? All that build, everything, just so they could end up looking like losers at the end? It wasn't even it didn't lead to anything. It wasn't like Kane didn't turn on Bryan. Thank God we don't have to sit through that feud again. You know, it's just, I was expecting something out of this. At least the nostalgia act was going to pay off, and they at least were, you know, going to have them win, but they didn't win. The Bludgeon Brothers win, and they just go about the way. And I mean, it makes the Bludgeon Brothers look strong, I guess. They won another match. But, you know, Bryan came back from a career-threatening injury. And, you know, the guy, you know, putting his life on the line by wrestling and putting his health, I mean, that could be it. You know, one wrong thing with his neck and his career could be over. He could be like Stone Cold. He could be on the shelf for the rest of his life. You know, I don't know, what they were thinking here by booking this. But then again, why did they book anything? What is the purpose of anything on this card, for that matter? Did anything really mean anything? No. So this is just another one. It's just, you know, they went through the trouble of bringing Kane back, who's on, you know, the campaign trail for mayor in his home state. And, you know, for some reason, you know, there was no payoff here. You know, there was nothing really that happened of any significance. It didn't do anything for Bryan. It's just how lackadaisical they have been. And The Miz is nowhere to be found. Okay, you know, at least it could have been that maybe The Miz attacked one of them backstage, and this could have led into their SummerSlam match. But I don't even know if there is going to be a SummerSlam match. You know, the world title picture, as bland as it is, you know, we're going to talk about that in a sec. You would think that they would have wasted no time by throwing Bryan back in there, since he's the most over guy on the SmackDown side of things. So we had a worthless match here that, you know, amounted to absolutely nothing. Up next was Lashley and Reigns. And, you know, I gotta be honest, at this point, I actually thought that this was the end of the show. The show already felt super long. It felt like, you know, it was going on for an eternity. You know, that's how things are when you're just not enjoying them, when just things are spiraling out of control in terms of quality and lack of entertainment. So, I mean, this was a good, solid match, and they put Lashley over here in an emphatic way, which I was, you know, happy to see. It's just, you know, they're building Roman up just to, you know, build him back down again. I mean, since last year, since he beat Cena, you know, he was like on a roll. I was like, okay, so they don't want to give the guy the world title just yet. But they're doing a pretty good job here. You know, The Undertaker, Cena, the guy is rolling through everybody. So, you know, he's looking really strong. He's looking like he could be a top guy. But ever since then, you know, he gets back together with the Shield. It's not doing anything for him. That's the reason why they broke apart the Shield, is to get these guys over. You know, Roman ended up being the most successful of the bunch. Seth Rollins just ended up injuring a bunch of people. And Dean Ambrose went on to become one of the most boring WWE champions of all time. We all know how it goes. But, you know, it's not to say that Roman has been booked well. He's been booked horribly. That's why I don't understand why people have so much of a problem with Roman as an individual, when it's really booking. I mean, you look at this guy and you look at this match and you see a very competent worker. You see an above average worker. You see an excellent worker. You see a guy that he gives it his all in his ring. You could see the effort. You could see the effort in his face. This is a guy that actually sells. This is a guy that, you know, and it was a pleasure to watch this match because there was people actually selling. There was stuff in this match that you just didn't see from everybody else on the card. You know, it actually looked like there was a real fight going on of sorts. You know, they actually looked like two real men were in there. Two guys that actually looked like stars going head to head. It's a shame that the build was such shit, but, you know, here we are, and, you know, we kind of already knew that the build was going to be shit because it's always that way. But, you know, it was a good match, and it just ended. I mean, you know, the follow-up, though, we're going to talk about it, you know, tomorrow. You know, I mean, we're going to talk about it when I do my Raw review, but, you know, Raw the following day was just, you know, the follow-up to it was completely abysmal. They didn't do anything of any sorts. You know, we're going to talk, I'll save that for the Raw review, but this is a good match, and it was by far the best on the card. Alexa Bliss defeated Nia Jax. This was very oddly done, where Ronda didn't even get her licks in on Alexa. You know, instead, it's, you know, she beats up on Mickie James. She's in the crowd. She beats up on Mickie James. Then Mickie James then, you know, blindsides her from behind. Bliss then hits the DDT on the chair on Jax. And I said Nax. Jax. Retains the title. And I'm just kind of left sitting here saying, like, did Ronda just get bitched out by Mickie James, who they're not doing anything with at the moment? The sidekick for Alexa Bliss. She should have left Mickie James in a heap. She should have destroyed her, should have torn her limb from limb. And she started to do that. She started to do that. And, you know, here's the thing. She'll go on Raw to finally, you know, get her hands on Alexa Bliss, you know, to a certain extent. But she should have started with Mickie James completely. Instead, she gets blindsided. Then she's, you know, huffing and puffing in the ring, acting like she can't just jump out of the ring at any time and chase after them. She should have chased them into the parking lot. They should have sped away in a car. It's easy writing. You know, just think about anything that could have made Ronda look like a monster here. Made her look vicious. Oh, we got to get away from her. She's a maniac. I didn't get that here. In fact, it looked like she was just, you know, on their level, basically. Ronda should be, you know, advertised and displayed and booked so she looks like she's above everybody else. If they're making her into a legit star like a female Brock Lesnar, then they need to do a much, much better job than this. I mean, this was horrible. To have her get beat up by Mickie James and just have her huffing and puffing in the ring, you know, not going after them. AJ Styles defeated Rusev. This was boring, uneventful. We all knew that Rusev was going to lose, so what's the point here? It didn't lead to anything. There was, you know, nothing that transpired after the match. Just a really boring finish to a boring match that had boring build. I mean, this was just kind of like a match they didn't know what other challengers to give AJ. So now they could tell the fans, okay, yeah, we gave Rusev his little push there. Now Rusev is probably headed back down to the mid-card once again. And, you know, and that's it. And I got to be honest. Like, I thought that Bobby Lashley and Roman Reigns was the last match. I thought that was it. Boy, was I wrong, because that was not the last match. There was still more to come. I totally forgot that the WWE Championship match was the match that we should all be looking forward to. Not that WWE Championship match, but in general. The WWE Championship match always goes on last. It should always be the match that everybody looks forward to. It should just be the most over match on the card, I guess. But, you know, like, this... You've got the WWE Championship for months and months and months now has not been the main event on any pay-per-view. And the Universal Champion hasn't even been there. You know, all the past main events, Samoa Joe and Roman Reigns, the Money in the Bank match, they've had no world title matches. There's no sense of urgency or anything. There's no big marquee matches, because the title that everyone is supposedly like in this company fighting for, it is not even a main thing. And this is the WWE Champion. This isn't even the Universal Champion. This is the Bruno. This is the Hulk Hogan. This is the Stone Cold title right here. And it's being relegated to not even the second to last match, but the third to last match. And then I remembered, they still have a 30-minute Iron Man match. And that was next. And I'll give credit here when Drew McIntyre finally stormed the ring. You had Drew then picking him off with a bunch of different moves, like, in succession. I was like, okay, now we're finally getting some finishers over here. Beats him with the zigzag. Beats him with the super kick, which I was really happy to see. He actually put somebody down with the super kick. I know he's done it in the past, but not so frequently. And then when Seth Rollins, so you know how it usually goes, like in an Iron Man match. I don't know why they always choose it to do it this way, but they always have like secondary moves and signature moves that are not their finishers, like getting them falls. Well, you would see it like in The Rock against Triple H at Judgment Day in 2000. There's a famous example. The Rock would end up getting a win with a DDT. And there's nothing wrong with winning a match with a DDT, because it's a DDT. It's a Jake the Snake Roberts move. You're dropping somebody on their head. That's a dangerous move. It's an underappreciated move. It became a transitional move since Jake used it originally. But this is like the one time where moves get over. But Rollins is hitting everything. Falcon Arrow, Dolph is kicking out. It's like, okay, they started off on a good foot by putting these big moves over finally. And then they move on, and then we're just getting kickouts on these big moves like the Falcon Arrow. So it goes to sudden death. We all think that this is it. That, I was like, oh, here we go. That Dolph is going to lose it right here. But he doesn't. Drew runs out. Dolph hits another zigzag. And that ends the show. And you got to say, like, this is uneventful. But you're putting... This is a co-branded pay-per-view. And you're putting the IC title match in the main event. I don't care if they say it's a triple main event, that there's 4 main events, whatever the lie is. The last match, that's the last match. I mean, come on already. Something has to go on last. So the way I determine what goes on last is what they think is going to be the most over thing. Sometimes plans fall through with that. You know, Undertaker versus Mankind, Hell in a Cell at King of the Ring, or Hulk Hogan versus The Rock. I don't know how they didn't think that those were going to be the most over matches to begin with. You know, but okay, so sometimes it's not going to always play its way out that way. And it's up for debate. Should the WWE title match always go on last? I feel it should. But if, you know, a match is going to get a stronger crowd response, it should be going on, you know, I guess last maybe. I'm just a little bit undecided on that. I've toyed with that idea for a while. But here you go. And, you know, no one's really caring about this match. And I thought it was funny the first time the crowd did it when they were counting down for every single minute. But this crowd being super obnoxious, doing the Royal Rumble countdown, they go 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. They did the sound. That's when I laughed the first time. But when they did it for the 20th time, I was like, shut up already. It's enough. I mean, how many times are you going to do the same joke in a row? You reach a point where you're just like, it's not funny anymore. The crowd just being obnoxious. How many times are you going to try to get yourself over? I understand that the matches, you know, and this is the thing. They're putting this match on, obviously, because they're like, okay, these are two good workers. You know, Ziggler, yes. In their eyes, Seth Rollins is. Man, burn it down, man. Burn it. You know, doesn't anybody just, you know, when he stomps his feet in the rhythm of burn it down? I hate that. There's so much to dislike about Seth Rollins. It's almost overwhelming. But this was not over. You see how the crowd's acting? This means they don't give a shit about this match. They don't care about this match. They don't want to see this match even. Why don't just go home and walk out? You know, I guess they paid good money. They want to see it through to the end. I get that perspective. But, like, why even pay to go see this show? Why pay $400, $500, $600, $700 to sit in the front row when you're just going to act like a fucking moron? We all know the product sucks. Do you see me going to events? No, I watch it, but for the purpose of a review, to entertain and have a good time doing these reviews. It's the only reason why I watch the show at this point. Otherwise, there's not a point, and I wouldn't watch. If there wasn't a YouTube, if there wasn't a video platform of any kind for me to entertain on, I would not be doing it. But there you go, folks. WWE Championship match is superseded by the IC title, a secondary title. I understand, but it's like, this would be like if they announced that Macho Man and Steamboat would be going on last at WrestleMania 3, you know, instead of Andre and Hogan. Now, I'm not saying that Roman and Lashley is anywhere close to Andre, you know, and Hulk Hogan. The build, everything, the star power, no, it's just not there, but it's like a similar situation. You know, that was the match that they put the most time into. So that should have been the main event. I mean, really, it should be AJ if Brock's not going to be there. But they don't give two shits about AJ. You can see that. I mean, his title run is just like, you know, something for the smarks, just so they could say that, you know, someone from New Japan is holding the title. That's how they're pretty much looking at it, I see. Because this title run is boring, it's uneventful, it's led to nothing, but total boredom. So there you go, folks. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, card was horrible. It's a horrible show. They booked nothing the right way. Daniel Bryan's loss here just is like, you know, for no reason. They just jobbed him out here just for fun, I guess, you know. Hey, he's the most over guy in the company pretty much, and, you know, and then you had Owens falling off, you know, the cage to the table, and even Wade Keller admitted it. You're going to see on Raw, and I'm going to talk about how Braun's just in a promo, and they don't even mention really him throwing, you know, well, I think he mentions it in the promo, but they don't even really talk about how shocking Owens getting tossed off. They don't they didn't show, like, remember when Mankind got tossed off? This might not be, like, as bad, but it wasn't far off, really, when you think about it. But it just shows that these big spots amount to nothing. Anyway, what we'll talk about in the Raw review, guys. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and click the bell so you get notifications. Let's try to get the subscriptions up. Let's try to grow this channel. Watch my other videos. Check out the game reviews. Check out the movie reviews. So much other content on this channel besides this garbage wrestling. Anyway, guys, I'll see you next time. This has been your YWC champ, and I'm signing out.